Let's talk about cold emails. What's working now when founders reach out to investors? What should be in the first email?
It starts very simply. I want to share the interesting thing is we send out hundreds of emails every day on behalf of founders. So I get to see directly firsthand what is getting a response and how it works. And we found simpler is better. It's literally a 5 sentence email, just simple. This is why I'm contacting you. Here's the problem. Here's the solution. Here's some highlights, the market size, our team, where we are as far as traction and how much we're trying to raise. And I think the most important thing is to make sure that your email that you're sending out is matched to the investor. If the investor is a seed investor or a Series A investor, do not contact them with your pre-product, pre-revenue startup. That's the most important thing. And understanding that investors, they want to read these emails. And so a good subject line is very important. But understanding some investors, you need a personal introduction. They don't have a regular intake process. And therefore, you need to make sure that you customize your email to how they want to receive emails. Research is important, but other investors, they've got associates, they've got analysts. So they are scanning for your email and you want to get to it as quick as possible. 90 seconds is how much they're going to give you. And all you want them to do is take the next step and click on that little link and open up your pitch.
What is the ideal length of a cold email?
Right. I say you have to be able to read it in 90 seconds is what I look for, because that is just the general attention span time frame. And it's even shorter than that because you know how you get lots of query emails, cold emails. I get lots of cold emails. And there's that little line that you get a little preview. And if a founder fills that preview with fluff, I hope you are doing well, da 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 da, then I'm not even going to read that one. I'm not going to open it up. So have something in the subject line or the preview that immediately catches my attention. And usually that's something contextual to me. It shows that they've done their research or they're saying something very interesting that I want to open. So it's not as much the length. I've seen some emails that are way long and investors have told me, I read the whole thing because it was so compelling right away, right from the jump. It was something that sucked in the investor. So the length is not important as how you craft it to get attention. But if you're not as good at that, then you don't want to extend past a 90-second window is what I recommend.
How personal should a cold email be? What is the right balance between personalization and getting into the point?
It depends on the investor. I find that the more of a personal contact or referral the investor needs. Let's say that investor is an angel and only does one deal a year, but is a super important angel for you. It should be more customized. If the investor is part of a fund, VC has a team, well, most likely they're not even reading that email. They have somebody else screening and scanning. Therefore, it doesn't have to be as customized. And let me give you an example. Let's say that you see an investor and you really want them to invest in their angel. They are not an active doing 10, 15 deals, 20 deals a year. And you catch them on a podcast. Well, customize it, not just to them in terms of you understand their investment thesis, but customize it to that podcast. I heard you on that podcast. That was a really great podcast, or what you said on that podcast really resonated with me. We're solving that same problem. So think about it this way. If you're selling and you're a salesperson and you are trying to sell something that's worth $250,000, you are not going to do a blank template cold email or outreach. You're going to research them and you're going to find exactly how to talk to them. But then if you are approaching a firm or you're approaching a company that has a process, well, that's not going to be as important. So you have to be prepared to research and adjust depending on who you're talking to.
So what is the difference between spamming and cold emailing?
Spam is in the perception, it's the eye of the beholder. If you are sending the same thing and it sounds like and it looks like a templated email, and the founder, let's say, makes mistakes. I've seen founders contact me and they've mistaken my name, they cut and paste it wrong, or they don't actually read what my title is, or they quote something wrong. I know they're just cutting and pasting and trying to send out as many as possible. At the same time, I've had founders send me something. They said, I just watched your latest video and this was interesting. And they went and created a Loom video. In fact, I just entered into the sort of socialization, the second round with a founder the other day. And I read all his emails and they were long, but they were all very customized so that it wasn't spam. You can make templated emails sound very customized and natural. And that's where it's important. And I think a lot of founders struggle with that. So if I see that it's spam, it's a templated email, I will treat it like spam. But if I see it as just a process that a founder has taken care of and customized the right parts, well, then I'm a lot more forgiving.
My answer for this kind of email is I reply all of them.
You do? Okay.
I have a form page, page of form which includes 10 questions, very easy questions. I expect them to also fill out the form. Additionally, I am checking out after I reply their email, which my replying average time is not more than 1 hour. If they do not reply to my email, I understand that they are spamming.
Yes, for sure. Okay, here's a great question. So let's demonstrate this. You have a process in your company. You have a process for your fund, and therefore you created those 10 questions. And I have to go create that sort of intake form as well, because that's how we screen founders and make sure they're very serious. But I'm curious for you, when was the time that someone just emailed you and didn't fill out the form or didn't know there was a form, and they contacted you and it really got your attention to spend a little bit of extra time or try and guide them through and make it easier for them? What happened?
I look at the content quality, by the way. If it is a match for my investment thesis, I directly give them tomorrow a meeting.
That's right. Founder investor fit. Now, here's the interesting thing is you have LPs. And so you have a responsibility to deploy capital. Therefore, you are hunting for deal flow. For example, on my side, I don't have LPs. I don't have pressure to get into deal flow and put capital to work and deploy capital. So therefore, my process of how I screen founders is very different. I have founders that have been asking me for a year, and I just tell them, great. And I have a conversation with them. And then eventually I see an inflection point. I'm following them. I follow founders and I check in on them when they don't know. And I take a look. And then if they move and they're growing and they're achieving those inflection points, then I will reach out to them, or I'll put something out there and I'll see if they're still tracking with me and they're still interested. Because if you think about my fund and what I'm doing, I can't write a $500,000 check. I'm not writing those checks. So if a founder comes to me and says, I need $500,000 to start my startup, then I can't. I'm not even going to be interested. Like you said, it's not going to fit my investment thesis. But if a founder comes to me and says, I've already raised this amount of money and really money is not that big of an issue, it's just a matter of why you and why I want you to be a part of my startup, I'll have founders pursue me. I've had founders pursue me for years, and I don't say no. I say it's no right now, but I'm interested. Keep me posted. And then eventually, the two come together. So that's where you're going to be different than me. And that's what I want founders to understand, is that investors operate differently based on their unit economics, their funds, their incentives.
How many times should founders follow up if they don't hear back? What is the polite and effective way to follow up?